And now on Tucson Business Radio X, your home for real estate with Carol Nugget.
Hello, everybody. This is Carol Nugget, your home for real estate at Coldwell Banker Realty. And I'm coming to you today from beautiful Tucson, Arizona, where I'm looking out at the Catalina foothills. I'm sorry to tell those of you in the Midwest and the Northeast, but it's about 80 degrees here, blue sky. So we're very glad to welcome you onto the program. And today we are coming to you remotely. Hopefully you'll be hearing us clear as a bell, because today we're going to talk about a pretty important topic, COVID-19, and what does it mean to the real estate market. And I'm actually going to be recording two programs. And our first program, I'm delighted to welcome Jim Callery, who is the manager of one of the Coldwell Banker Realty offices in Green Valley, Sahuarita, Arizona, which is just south of Tucson a bit. And Jim has been a realtor for 35 years, both here in Arizona and also in Colorado. He's also an educator teaching classes for the Green Valley, Southern Arizona Association of Realtors and at Hogan School of Real Estate. He's the past president and Realtor of the Year for the Green Valley Sahuarita Association of Realtors, the past president of the Summit Association of Realtors, and I'm assuming that's Summit, Colorado. And he served on the Tucson Association of Realtors Governmental Affairs Committee, and he also chaired the Tucson Association of Realtors Rate Cap Committee, which has to do with our lobbying at the. And so Jim is very much someone who knows the real estate market, and he knows what's going on from the inside out. So I'm just delighted to welcome you, Jim.
Well, thanks, Carol, and thanks for the opportunity.
And yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Jim, not only because of his experience, but Jim feels very much like I do. Those of you who listen to my shows know that the reason I am producing these shows is that I want to be of assistance providing information and education. And there's a lot of people in the country today who are very concerned and really very unhappy and very stressed about what's going on with the real estate market due to the COVID-19 restrictions. And I know that Jim is equally committed to being a service to people. So I'm grateful that he was able to spare time from the many, many conference calls he's having to participate in. And Jim, I know that you have a great commitment to realtors, and I definitely want to talk about how this COVID-19 is affecting the realtors. But I'd like to start with, what is it that you want the clients of realtors or our prospective clients to know, in terms whether they're buyers or sellers?
Well, that's a good question. Thanks very much. I think that it's really important that the clients out there feel comfortable with the way we're practicing real estate today. And we'll probably be going through some changes, learning the new normal, so to speak, and being able to match the way we service the client today with what makes them feel comfortable.
Well, I know that I myself, as a realtor, I currently actually have 4 listings, and I just closed 2 transactions last week. I'm closing a transaction next week. I have another transaction closing in a couple of weeks. So I think one of the things that I want to do is assure people who are wondering, the question that I get is real estate even moving? So I at least can say my experience is that, yes, I'm still doing quite a bit of business. Granted, some of it is left over. There transactions that went into escrow prior to the restrictions, but I have quite a bit going on. And I'm wondering, Jim, I know some of the things that I'm doing, but what are you recommending that realtors do to help their customers or potential customers feel more comfortable?
Well, I believe that it starts with talking to people. As realtors go in general, if we look at the National Association of Realtors survey on an annual basis, a lot of the indicators are that realtors don't do a very good job of following up. Many people fill out those surveys and they say, well, I'd love to hire my realtor that sold me this house if only I could remember their name. So I think that it's a time now, especially with so many of us being at home. We're in stay-at-home orders. So it's a good time for us to look through our sphere of influence, those people that we sold houses to, those people that would recommend us to somebody, and just follow up with them and talk to them. In addition to that, I think that it's a good time to bypass on a lot of passive marketing and go more directly to things that will put us in touch with people and connect with people, as opposed to just throwing our name out there and hoping somebody finds it.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I know when this whole thing started, I think it's been about 3 weeks, I happen to have a service that sends out little packages, little gifts, and I sent out to about 40 people a little card just encouraging them that, this too is going to pass and bright days are ahead, and with a little a gift of brownies for everybody. And I know that's something that I did because, as you were mentioning, I want my clients to know that I am here, and I want them to feel that I'm somebody that they can rely on. And are you in touch with many of your agents at this time, or is that a little catch as catch can?
No, it's just the opposite of that. I'm in touch with them continuously. And I'm using some of the new technology. One of the things that we can do today is find out from our clients as a manager, find out from our agents, what do they feel comfortable with when it comes to communicating. So if they're comfortable with a Zoom, for example, or Microsoft Teams, I think Microsoft Teams is a very underrated teleconferencing format. If they're comfortable using some of these, and as I had mentioned earlier to you, Carol, that I heard there's a new one out there now. I think it's a Google thing, Blue Team. I haven't been on that one yet. But if the clients, or in my case, the agents are used to using something like that, find out what it is, and then learn that tool so that you can communicate with them. I think communication is key today.
And so you're encouraging your agents to use some of those technologies to be in touch with their clients and prospective clients as well?
Yeah, what a great thing to come out of all of this. I mean, it's hard to find a silver lining in this whole debacle, but nevertheless, there is a silver lining, and I think communication is that silver lining. Telecommunicating, where you can actually go out and bring up listing contracts or purchase contracts and show it to them, rather than just send it to them for their signature or send it to them for a DocuSign signature. We can actually communicate with them, look at them, learn how to share the screen and show them what they're signing and describe it to them. So I think that virtual meetings, virtual showings of homes, the new way of doing business, I think, let's call it the new normal. And I think that's one of the good things that will come out of this. I think a closer relationship with our clients.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think that the extenuating circumstances are forcing clients and potential clients to be a little more reliant on their realtor. And I think that's a wonderful thing, as long as the realtors are ready to take that on. You mentioned about virtual showings, and I know that's one of the things that I've been learning. In fact, I just listed a house yesterday down in Saurita, not far from you, and we are just promoting like crazy that the homeowner is actually willing to do virtual showings herself with FaceTime. So we're promoting that anybody who's interested can contact me and schedule an appointment, and then the homeowner is going to tour the house on FaceTime. And I love that idea, and I love the idea that we're partnering more with our clients. A lot of times clients never know what the realtor even does, and now I think it's giving us an opportunity to partner a little more, because the truth is, as a realtor, all I do is support and guide and advise as best I can the people that I work for, but it's really their transaction. And find ways to use technology to our advantage to draw us closer rather than for the circumstances of COVID-19 to make us more isolated.
Well, the key word that you just said was closer. And I'm a veteran. I was in the Navy. And anybody that's a veteran will tell you that the people they served with, especially during wartime, the bonds that develop during those hard times, those times where you have no idea what the future is going to bring, those times are times that relationships solidify for a lifetime. So as we talk about clients in real estate, we're always talking about clients for life. But we don't really foster that as well as we could. And again, not to say that this whole thing is a good event that took place, but there are some good things to come out of it. And one of those good things is that most all of our clients today are rattled. They're upset. Mm-hmm. They need help. They have no idea what the future will bring. They're confused. And it's a great opportunity for realtors to step up and be that calming hand and be their partner through this. And that will foster a lifetime of a relationship.
Yeah, I really agree with you about that. And I'm curious, in addition to utilizing some of the new technology and staying closer to their clients and prospective clients, are there any other things that you would recommend that agents do to help their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at this point, as I said, find out what their clients can use for technology. It's a good time to do that. But as we look at the Southern Arizona real estate market, one of those things that we can talk about is that the fundamentals are still there. We still have a very low inventory, and we still have high demand. As you were saying, you've been able to make sales. You've got closings coming up. I'm seeing that across the board as I talk to my agents and other agents at other companies, that for the most part, business is going on. But one of the things we need to do as an industry is get out ahead of this rather than sit back and say, well, when this is over, I'll get back into it. Well, when will it be over? I do believe that American life going forward has probably changed for quite some time. We could see that masks and gloves and eye protection are part of what people will wear as they go out of their house. But what else does it mean? Will they want to sit in your car and ride around and look at properties in somebody else's car? Will you want somebody sitting in your car? Hard to say on that. So I think that it's very important that we embrace the change and look for those tools that we can still work for real estate. We can go to a seller or a buyer and say, this is how we're doing business now. And I've got the handle on it because I've been practicing, and we can do business and keep people safe. I think that's what they want to know today. We're in control, we're calm, and we can use the technology.
Those are all really good points. And on a real practical level, I know one of the things that I feel very fortunate because very early on when we started hearing about this, I made a purchase through Amazon of several hundred little alcohol swabs that come individually packaged. And now I'm providing those at all my listings. I put a little table, or I have the homeowner put a little table out in front of the house, and we put in a little basket with the swabs and a little garbage bag and a sign that just says, please use swab before entering the property. And, I in fact, just before we started our call, I just was notified that I've had 2 more showings at a house that I listed on Monday. And so, I think that we all need to be very responsible and careful and use an extreme amount of caution. But there are ways that we can continue to provide service to our clients. And it's obvious to me by the amount of notifications I'm getting that buyers are out there. And I think that providing them with a little bit of safety, like the alcohol swab, that's very beneficial. I know also when I have to show property, I have been swabbing, going into a property, turning on the light, opening cabinets and doors so that once my buyer comes through, they don't have to be touching the surfaces. So I think that there definitely are things that we can be doing to keep moving the market forward. But I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that's the question I'm getting. What's going to happen to real estate? Everyone's a little panicked about it. And I just happened to see a very interesting report that just came out this morning. I found it on Market Watch. Fannie Mae is now on their April, which is their newest projection. They're not projecting that home sales are going to fall by about 15% in 2020, driven by a downturn in existing home sales. However, they are anticipating that prices will not drop. And, it's so interesting, because that's what I'm finding so much is people are anticipating, buyers in particular, are anticipating that prices are going to start dropping, and therefore they're buyers who are waiting. But Fannie Mae is actually projecting that the median price for an existing home will rise to $275,000 from $272,000. And of course, this is national projections. But I think it's fascinating that they aren't anticipating and they aren't projecting any kind of a price reduction, which is, I'm guessing, you're dealing with. I know I'm dealing with it as a listing agent. How do you price a home now? Do you discount it because of these crazy circumstances? And thus far, I haven't, because so much of our pricing is done on comps. And, we're still pricing homes based on homes that sold 6 weeks ago or more. And do you have any feelings about that or an opinion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Certainly. This is exactly what I like to talk about. The fundamentals, as I said, are still good. If we look back at the last crash, now keep in mind that I was in the real estate business when there were 18% interest rates back in the 80s. So having seen nothing like this, I got to admit, nothing like this, but things that have some similarities to this. And when we look at the last crash, by April of 2007, the Tucson Association of Realtors was reporting that we had 10,400 homes, just over 10,000 homes for sale. Well, when you've got a glut of homes, prices aren't dropping. They're dropping like a stone.
Right.
And it would take years to deplete that inventory. But when we went into this, we were at an all-time historic low in inventory. Yep. And that hasn't changed much. We're still going to probably hover around 4,000 homes at best, maybe 3,000 where we were. But all in all, that's a very low inventory. And because of that, I don't see prices dropping, because it's all a matter of how many choices do we have. If we're going to look at 30 homes over the next 2 weeks, and we're finally going to find one that works for us, we probably still need to step up to the plate. And the one thing that realtors need to keep in mind is that real estate is not necessarily, residential real estate, I should say, is not necessarily about houses. It's about people. People's lives have changed. They need a bigger house for some reason. They need a smaller house. They need to move out of here. They need to move in here. So it's moving people. It's not necessarily moving houses. And those people's lives haven't changed at all. Those events in their lives are still there, and they need to buy a house or they need to sell a house.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, Jim, because another part of this article talks about the fact that there are sellers right now who, because they don't want people in their houses or for whatever reason, they're canceling their listings, they're pulling their listings. And in fact, this article in Market Watch makes the point that that's only exacerbating the low inventory, which is, really going to keep the market price-wise very, very healthy for a long time to come. And I've also been reading through Barron and a lot of different economists that are showing exactly what you're talking about, that I think there's a little bit of a post-traumatic stress disorder from the recession in the mid-2000s, which was really related to a problem with the real estate market, in particular the mortgage industry. But in every other major recession that we've had across history, the housing market hasn't declined even as much as the stock market, for example. And I really hope we can get that word out there, because I think people are very frightened. In fact, I had a call this morning with a client who I sold a home to last year. He's a younger man. He's in his early 30s. And he now wants to look at buying an investment property because he thinks it would be better to balance his portfolio because of what's going on with stocks, right?
Yeah, and he's smart, because even though we both agree that the prices shall be somewhat stable, and they probably will be, we're probably right on that, you might find a seller out there that doesn't believe that. You might find a seller that feels that I need to get out now while the getting's good, and they're ready to drop their price dramatically or take an offer that they would not have taken, say, 3 months ago. So a buyer out there today that finds a house that's suitable for them, this might be a great opportunity for them to see if they can pick that offer or pick that house up with an offer that they would not have made 2 or 3 months ago, when there might have been 2 or 3 other buyers buying for the same home.
And are you seeing a dramatic decline in the number of sales in the Green Valley, Sahuarita area?
Not a dramatic decline, but certainly one that we'll know more as time goes on. We're seriously into about 3 weeks of this virus as it came into our state. So it's hard to even tell whether or not we're still going into some tough times virus-wise, or we're already maybe leveling off. It's hard to say at this point. But as we get, let's say another 3 weeks under our belt, we'll be able to measure that a little bit more. You know, the immediate, if we look at the stock market, the immediate shock to the stock market, and it dropped into, the Dow drops into about 17,000 or so. Well, it's back into the 23, 24,000 range already. So we're kind of plodding along here where immediately we were all a little bit in shock. But again, I think it's important for realtors to demonstrate to the buying and selling public that we're standing tall and we're calm. We've got this, and we've got their business in our hands too.
Well, I know I certainly feel that way.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear, that now in your area where you're the branch manager in Green Valley and Sahuarita, I know we have a lot of full-time residents down there, but we also have a lot of part-time residents, particularly in the Green Valley area. Are you finding any shifts in that population? I know I read an article this morning. I thought it was kind of amusing that seniors didn't feel that they would be as financially hurt by the downturn in the market and the effects that COVID-19 was having on the economy. Have you seen any trends or anything in Green Valley versus Sahuarita?
Nothing too dramatic. They're still snowbirds. So they're there during the winter months. And right about now is about when they're starting to pack up and go back north or wherever they're from, back east or back north. And that's still in play right now. I've heard from a few people that they don't necessarily want to travel. They want to hunker down right in their home. And certainly, like all communities, there's a constituency that feels like, well, it's all a bunch of nonsense, so we're just going to keep on having parties and whatever we want to do. But for the most part, it looks like people are taking it serious. They want to stay safe. And for those people that come and go, they're still coming and going. And it still looks somewhat normal. So I think that it's, like I said, it's a new normal, but things are still somewhat normal.
And ladies and gentlemen, my listeners, I just wanted to let you know this is Carol Nygett, your home for real estate for Tucson Business Radio X. Normally we broadcast from the Stewart Title Building in downtown Tucson, but because we're being very conscientious, we're staying at home, so we're broadcasting remotely. And I'm chatting now with Jim Callery, who is the branch manager of the Coldwell Banker Realty office in Green Valley and Sahuarita. And we are talking about what's going on with real estate and how is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting it. And so I've like to continue our conversation, Jim. I'm just curious. Do you have any new agents in your office? People who just started out in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, can you believe it? What a time to have to come into the real estate business. As a matter of fact, at the point, now our office was the first one in the marketplace to put a sign on the door that says that we are going to observe the national guidelines. And of course, we were early to do that. And it seemed like it was met with some discussion right off the bat. So here at the same time, a couple of new agents just started up. So,
wow.
So what a time to have to come into the business. But again, going back to what I said earlier, here's something I always tell new agents. I don't know if you're going to make it in the real estate business until your mother buys a house from somebody else. And tongue in cheek, what that means is that I have seen where best friends or relatives of a new agent will go out right away and buy a house from somebody else because they planned on buying a house, and the new agent figures, everybody knows I'm in a new career now. Well, everybody doesn't know that, and that's a lesson for people that have been in the business for a while. Mm-hmm. We assume that those closest to us, our friends, our relatives, what we in the business call our sphere of influence, those people are the ones that we never talk about real estate with. We talk about the football game, or we talk about something else that we did back in high school or something, but we don't talk about real estate. So it's a good reminder for all of us that at this time in particular, follow up with those people that love you, that will be the first to say you've got to use this agent. Follow up with those people, your friends and your relatives, and remind them that you're in the real estate business and you're still doing business. And that's what we can do right now, whether you're new or an experienced agent.
Well, and it's funny, but I don't know how you feel about this, and you might consider this a little bit of blasphemy, but one of the things that I really am kind of enjoying is that nobody knows what's going to happen. We can, as I've been doing, we can read a lot of articles. I believe it is one of the things I try to provide to my clients is I try to stay very informed and knowledgeable. Not that I'm an expert, but I at least like to be knowledgeable. But I do find that it's another one of those things that kind of helps to join us with our clients, is to be able to say, I really don't know. This is what I read in an article. But there's something a little bit liberating about being able, like now when you list a new home, being able to tell when the client says, well, I hope it sells fast, being able to say, well, I really don't know.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's been a great leveler in that nobody can promise anything because nobody knows for sure what's going on. And as you know, we do have certain people who operate in our industry who tend to make promises that they probably shouldn't be making in the first place because that's just the way that they choose to conduct business. I don't particularly feel that that's the kind of ethical, moral compass I want to use, but I do find that, being able to be just very honest and saying, I really don't know, and maybe sending an article. I've been sending a lot of articles to people just to provide them with information. Not that it's an answer, but just to give them some information, because I think right now everybody would like to have information. It's very helpful. Not that it can be relied on, but at least it's something. In my years, I taught stress management for many years before I came into real estate. And in fact, I think that serves me really well. And one of the things that I learned doing that is that nothing is more stressful than not knowing. That's what we run up against in every real estate transaction. Am I going to get an offer? Are they going to accept my counter? What's going to happen with the inspection and the repair request? It's all the not knowing that's so stressful. And I think it's kind of nice now that we're all in that same position. And for me, it's another way that it just draws me a little closer to my clients, because I think it's dangerous when realtors allow themselves to be put on a pedestal as if they do have all the answers. And, as you know, we always talk about, not getting outside of your expertise. And I just wondered do you feel like I just committed some blasphemy?
No, actually, you hit it on the head, not knowing. As I mentioned, I'm a veteran. There's never been a war where we actually knew what the outcome was going to be. In no war have there ever been anybody that could absolutely predict what the outcome will be. And when we've gotten into wars, they've always fooled us, and they've gone longer than they were supposed to, and there's been more casualties than we anticipated. And what we're facing as a world today is, in fact, we're facing a world war. It's the world at war at this time. And so it's like a war, and not since the Civil War in America has the enemy been right outside our door. So we're not used to not being able to come and go as we please. And we're not used to looking at people walking down the aisle towards us at Safeway thinking, is that the enemy? Am I going to get infected by getting too close to that person? So never before since the Civil War have we had the war on our doorstep. And that's what has people so rattled right now. All the more reason why, as realtors, we have to be leaders right now, be calm, and project that calmness to our clients.
I just love hearing that, and I really do hope that I'm emulating that to people. I'm just wondering if you're thinking that that's kind of, because it's changing, as you said, it's sort of changing a little bit, the way that realtors relate to their clients. And are you anticipating that is one of the things that will continue going forward, like the level of communication that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, I do think that, as I said, when can we envision Americans wanting to go to a movie theater again, or Americans wanting to get together in an arena of, say, 30, 50,000 people and see a live football game or see a live music event? When can we anticipate people getting that close? Do you want to sit down in a chair and watch an event with somebody on either side of you or somebody coughing behind you? When will those days return? And I think those days can't return prior to some type of vaccine. And that vaccine is out a ways. It's not going to be here immediately. So we either have a choice as realtors of putting our whole business on our life on hold until that happens, or learning how to deal with business and life going forward. And I think we'll see for a long time to come Americans walking around with masks and face shields and gloves and that sort of thing. And that will become the new normal for the immediate future, and maybe extended beyond that as we go into flu seasons going forward. I think we're more cognizant of things like viruses now, and cleanliness and staying safe. So that may last a long time, if not for an extended long time. I hate to say forever, but for a long period of time going forward. That means that as realtors, we have to adapt to that. Are they going to want to get in my car? Are they going to want to be 2 feet from me as we unlock the front door? Are they going to want to walk through somebody's house? As you said, you open the cabinet doors ahead of time. That's a selling feature to sellers. This is what I'll do for you, so that when they come through, they won't have to touch your cabinet. That's a feature. So I think that those kinds of things, as we think creatively, that we'll have to be envisioning the new normal and then bringing that to our clients.
And what I'm thinking about listening to you, Jim, is I know that the Japanese, it's a very acceptable part of their culture to wear masks. They wear them all the time. And so it's really a cultural shift that we're going through. And real estate has to adapt as the culture is shifting.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I believe that was one of the reasons that South Korea did so well through this event, is that it's the normal thing to go out into public wearing masks. So, I'm not crazy about that idea. However, whatever the normality is going forward, I'm ready to adapt to it.
Well, I can see that the masks now will all be branded. with a different real estate
Yeah,
broker.
you bet. Yeah.
That'll be one of the things that we give to our new buyers when we first meet with them. Is we'll hand them a little goodie bag, and it'll have a mask, and it'll have gloves to match the color of whatever the brokerage is branded. I think that would be really interesting.
Branded, or I'll go get a full face mask, and it'll be Brad Pitt. So, something that looks really good.
Well, I'm wondering, given what you're saying, it sounds to me like you feel pretty bullish about the Southern Arizona market in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And I think that if our Association of Realtors takes that on, like I said, be the calming hand, follow up with everybody you know, talk to people, get away from the idea so much of what kind of gimmick can I use to generate buyer leads, and actually go into a more proactive type marketing activities that you're actually talking to people and calling people up, kind of like the old days where we call people up and say hello and connect with them, work with them through this environment, build that loyalty because you were there for them. And then we go into the field realizing that the world hasn't fallen off a cliff and there's business to be done. This is about people's lives and changes in their lives, and address those and still do business, find a way that works for the client and do business that way. We can keep things moving, and let's hope that at some point down the road there is a vaccine and that people feel very comfortable. And throughout all of it, we've built better relationships as an industry.
Do you think that there's a possibility that we are going to see a glut of buyers and sellers once these restrictions are lifted, because people have been deferring their sales or their purchases?
Yeah, it's very possible, and it could be one, the other, or both, actually. As you mentioned, yes, there are people that just don't want somebody through their house right now, so they're taking their house off the market, and we could see a bunch of homes coming on the market, but I don't feel that that's been the majority. I think the majority of people that want to sell again because of a life event in their personal life, and they still want to sell. But we kind of go back to a release of stay-at-home orders, and we start moving around again as a society. I don't know that that's going to be a glut of sellers coming on. And same story for buyers. They're buying for personal reasons in their life, things that have occurred in their life. They had another baby, they need a bigger house. That hasn't changed. This event hasn't changed that. So they're still out there looking around and buying houses. And as a manager, I'm seeing these contracts come through the office, and I'm amazed. There's still a lot of business going on out there.
Well, and I think we're very fortunate in that the greater Tucson area and Green Valley and Sahuarita, our economy has been so strong, and some of the businesses that are coming here, Amazon and Caterpillar and Raytheon, and I know that Raytheon has a lot of people who reside in Sahuarita, in your area of Southern Arizona. I think that I know I have 3 relocation deals right now. Raytheon, Caterpillar, GE, and they're very much still doing business, and they're continuing to move people around. And so I think that is an advantage for us in the Tucson, Southern Arizona market. And I don't think that will be affected by the economic change that we're going through. What do you think about? I had someone ask me, and I've wondered this too. Are we about, because so many people have lost jobs, are we about to see the return of REOs, bankruptcies, and short sales?
Wow, what a great question. The answer would be, what were we talking about a bit ago? I don't know. I suppose we could see some of those types of things. But again, as I started this whole conversation out, this debacle that we're in is not a credit financial debacle. Mm-hmm. It's something that was thrust upon us, like an attack by a foreign enemy, and that's the virus. It's an attack by a foreign enemy. So it came on to a marketplace that was not oversold. We weren't overpricing properties. We may have thought, wow, they'll never get that, and then they wound up getting it. But no, it still wasn't like the previous crash where properties were going up outrageously on a weekly basis. We had good growth going. We had a stable listing inventory, and we had a good crop of buyers coming. So it was, all in all, everything was good. It wasn't based on overselling the real estate like the last time. So as a result, I just don't think we're going to see prices drop enough to become short sales and REOs. Remember, they have to buy them. They have to buy them with very little money down, and that was part of the last crash, or no money down. We're not seeing the commercials on TV like we did back then. We'll loan you 130% of the value. That's what they were doing back then. We haven't seen that come back. So there have been a lot of protections in the marketplace that kept us from overlending and getting people underwater from the beginning. So we didn't see that, and I don't think we'll see that many REOs and short sales.
Well, I hope you're right. And if we do start to see them, I hope there'll be some more training for how to handle them. Because people are
the wild card here, Carol, is that certainly, especially for a market like Cerrito, where it's working people, whereas Green Valley is retired people, Cerrito is a lot of working people, and it's historic. I think I heard today something like 22 million people out of work at the moment. How fast will we get them back to work? We don't know the answer to that. And how much it affects, let's say, a community like Cerrito, we just don't know at this point. But all in all, that will have a factor on it. Unemployment is a risky thing. So we'll see how that all rolls out.
Well, and the other piece of that question is, so many businesses and industries are finding out now that they can survive without brick and mortar real estate. They can survive without as many people, and that's more what I have in mind. I mean, I think people, I certainly think people are going to be challenged. I mean, they're missing payments right now. They're unemployed; they aren't making their payments, and I don't think a $2,500 subsidy from the government is going to take care of the problem forever. I mean, it's wonderful to have something, but there are people who are going to be behind in payments, and but I'm also thinking about what's going to happen. I especially, for example, with the commercial real estate industry. I know most businesses have leases, so they have to maintain their legal obligations, but it's going to be very interesting, I think, to see what happens, because there are very few businesses and industries that aren't discovering now that they don't need brick and mortar anymore.
Yeah. That's all part of that wild card. We just don't know what it looks like. So we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, things are still very hopeful. And as realtors, our job is to find that hope and project that, or at least instill that as best as we can into our clients. Right now, they need somebody to tell them that it's going to be okay. We don't know that to be for sure, but certainly there are some very good indicators that our market's going to be okay.
And is there anything that you're in the process of doing to prepare for the stay-at-home order being lifted?
Oh, yeah. So I think what you're asking is, what am I doing with the agents, say, in my office to prepare them for after COVID-19? And that's what I called it, actually. What is your post-COVID-19 business plan? Are you working on that now? So and everything we've talked about is all part of that. Can you prepare today for post-COVID-19 work? And that was a big part of my office sales meeting just Monday. So we went over a lot of the things that we have to offer, a lot of the things that we talked about today.
And how are your agents doing? Are they nervous? I mean, it's a pretty scary time.
All right, here's the political answer. It's a mixed bag. So for some of them,
Yeah.
they're saying, wow, my business has really fallen off. And for other ones, they've never been busier. And so I do think, like in all of the crashes I've been through, and certainly in the 1980s, we would listen to Zig Ziglar and some of the motivators. It's a good thing to do that right now. Go back to some of those old motivational speakers, those trainers from the old days and some from the new days. But go back to them and listen to what they say, because the message is always consistent. And it's a lot of what we've been talking about here today. It's a matter of believing that things, it's better to believe that things are going to be good, even if you're wrong.
Well, I listen to a radio station, and they have a little, like a little tagline that they're using a lot right now. And they talk about one of their newsmen who at one point said, the important thing to remember right now is there have always been times like this. We like to think that this is, oh my God, there's never been anything. Well, we've never had a COVID-19, but we've had a lot of crises. Our country has had crises. We've had wars, as you alluded to. We had 9/11. We've had a lot of crises that have crippled us for different reasons. But, there are times like these, and I'm very lucky. I learned a long time ago, this too shall pass, and I believe that this will pass. It's just, how do you go about getting through it in the meantime? That's the important thing, I think.
Well, we're all making tomorrow's memories. Tomorrow we'll have memories of this time. And we'll look back and, I was here, I was there, I did this, I did that. What we need to do is remember that when we look back, we're always our worst critic, our own worst critic. And what we want to do at this point is do things that will make us proud that we lived through this when we get into the future. So project yourself into the future, look back and say, am I doing those things now that I'll be proud of in tomorrow's world? So that when I look back, I'll say, while there was chaos going on, I did this. I went out and I helped people do this, or I helped people do that. I was helping people at that time. And that's what realtors are about. So we want to look back and be very proud of who we are today.
And I also think I might want to throw in keeping a good sense of humor. I've been telling everybody who I talk to or who I email or text, don't forget to have a little fun. This is a very serious situation, and it's very tragic for a lot of people. And I would never want to overlook or be insensitive to that. But I think that it's also important that we still have some fun. And I know that I've seen some very humorous things on social media pertinent to real estate marketing. One that is a little plaque that it says, put this on your for sale sign. How would you want to be quarantined in this house? And I think having a sense of humor is very important. I know one of the things that I saw somewhere that I think is really interesting is start developing your marketing material now for the baby boom that's going to happen in 9 months. And be ready to market to those people who are going to need another bedroom because they're going to be having another baby. And I think that we do need to have as much of a respect to the seriousness of what's going on. I think we also need to hold on to our sense of humor and have a lightness about us. It's not a joyous time. It's a very grim time for a lot of people. But we still need to be alive and find the joy where we can find it, in equal measure to the sorrow that we're witnessing for so many people.
And I think our society has softened up a little bit. It seems like all that was on anybody's mind was politics prior to this, and there was a lot of angst, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of animosity. And today we're seeing very little of that. People are much more concerned with, of course, we're in a survival mode. And and I think people are more helpful today than they've been in a long time. So like any war, people want to come together. And, and that presents great opportunities because our industry, real estate, is a giving industry. It's a giving business. So our market today, as difficult as it might be, it's made for the givers, not necessarily for the takers.
Yeah, well, we have a tremendous opportunity to be of service, which for me, that's what I'm all about in terms of how I conduct myself personally, but in my business. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to have this time with you. I'm just wondering, is there anything that you're hearing, either in your own personal life or from your agents, that concerns that the public have that you want to make sure that we get to?
Well, certainly the concerns of the buyers are, is this a good time to buy? Mm-hmm. That's probably the number one concern. Is this a good time to buy? Or, as you said, buyers that are saying, maybe I'll wait to see if the price comes down.
Right.
We've talked about it. We've kind of beaten that horse to death. But the reality is they should buy when they need to buy. And again, they buy and sell based on what's happening in their personal life. And that hasn't changed, and that's still real. So is it a good time to buy? Of course it is, because it's going to be good for them. But that's the main concern, and we have to deliver that message that when is it a good time to buy? It's a good time to buy when you need to buy, and right now is the time. And that works for sellers, too. Is it a good time to sell? When's the best time to sell? Should we wait until we get through this? We don't know what the world is going to look like when we get through this, or when we get through this, what that date will be. Will it be this year, next year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Who knows what getting through this means? And as I said before, nobody's been able to project the outcome of any war before, and this is a war. So we don't know what the world is going to look like. Do you want to deal with the market that we've got at hand right now, or do you want to gamble on what might be the world that we deal with down the road? So it is a good time to sell, again, because they're selling for the same personal reason that buyers are buying. So when is it a good time to do this, which is always their question today? The answer is, if it's good for you right now, then do it in spite of what's going on. And we as realtors, that's our job to make it happen.
And, I think in a funny kind of an ironic way, having a stay-at-home order has made people appreciate their homes even more, appreciate the value of what it means to have a home. And conversely, maybe it's made you realize you aren't so happy with the home that you had. And it's motivating some people to take a look around and find somewhere that really does feel more comfortable for them. I know that Coldwell Banker has a wonderful ad campaign that they're starting, and it's all about, how important home is to us. And I think we're all learning that lesson right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to emphasize again that real estate is more than property.
Right.
It's about people. It's about people and people's lives. And their lives are not going on hold. The changes that are happening in their lives, whether it's job changes or family changes or whatever it is, those occurrences will still occur in spite of the coronavirus. And we're there to help them with that situation, to figure out what hurdles we have to get over. That's our job. And we do it well as an industry, and we need to do it better. We need to stand tall and be leaders through this.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you for your leadership, and I want to thank you for giving me this time today. And for those of you who've just joined us late, I've been chatting here with Jim Callery, who is the branch manager for Coldwell Banker Realty in Green Valley, Sahuarita. And Jim, do you want to give out any contact information for those who might be interested in getting in touch with you?
Sure, absolutely. Again, as Carol said, I manage the Green Valley office for Coldwell Banker. We are the number one office in the marketplace down there, and I would be happy to talk to any realtors that are out there at the moment. So here's my little pitch, and you can call me at 520-820-0620. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today, Carol.
Well, thanks, Jim. And this is Carol Nigett. I'm a Coldwell Banker Realty agent, and I serve the greater Tucson area, and sometimes that takes me into Sahuarita and Green Valley. And I would be delighted to respond to anybody's questions. My phone number is 520-448-6033. And I also would love any comments or any recommendations for topics that you'd like to hear us address on this show on Tucson Business Radio X. It's your home for real estate. And my thanks to Mark Bishop, our producer. And I look forward to catching up with everybody next time. And in the meantime, please stay safe, be healthy, and stay home.
We hope you enjoyed Your Home for Real Estate with Carol Nigett on Tucson Business Radio X.